screen share. Okay, view room.
Let's try.
And
Was that a notification again?
Yeah. I see.
Perfect.
okay, so I'm going to join as myself and I'm going to mute myself. Do you think I need to mute?
Yep. Join it. All right, everyone. That's the last time we're going to do that.
All right, we're next to each other, but on different screens. And then hopefully you can hear me in Pete's screen.
Yep. If you, it's not too bad. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see if we give it a second. All right, well, now we learned that.
It's a learning lesson. Thanks for all the patience out there.
It is. All right, guys, so I probably excluded. So when you, just real quick, when you go into the Facebook group, you just see a link with my face on it where I'm talking and you can click it to join live, essentially.
Yeah, it gave me a notification. So
Yeah,
I
it
just
says
clicked
you're
on
on.
it.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, well, I'm pretty sure the screen share is not working. All right, so jump right into it. The thing that we're going to go through is cold calls. The setup here, I think, would be best if, you know, obviously you're on my screen too, but what we're going to do is just play the video, listen through it, and then discuss it, and then keep moving through that process as we go.
Everybody's favorite subject, cold calls.
Yeah.
Should we dive right in or have a brief, you know, what do you guys think?
Well, I mean, the introduction that you and I discussed, where it's like, you know, we work with the Exp Realty now, and what I did prior to this was medical sales, and that's cold calling, where it's harder. It's in person, and you walk into the room and you're like, "Hi, I'm here to waste 5 to 10 minutes of your time." If you don't know what you're saying, you just get shut down so ridiculously fast that it is wasting 5 to 10 minutes of everyone's life. And every single thing that you've ever bought or sold is because of a cold call. I mean, it's simple to cold call a restaurant you've never been to. You just have to make an appointment. It's the same goddamn thing. It's every single product. So
yeah, I think and kind of coming into the business, teaming up with Matt and DJ, I mean, the fastest way to get business was getting on the phone. I went under DJ's wing and he taught me the ropes, got some scripts down, and just practice, repetition, and then it just comes down to doing it. Do I enjoy it? Not necessarily. Do I subconsciously delay in the mornings to get myself to not cold call as long? Definitely. But I'm just being honest. But I will say that once you get into it and you just start doing it, there is no faster way to get business. So I mean, I got my first listing in a month after joining the team, and that was all through cold calling. So yeah, quickest way to get business. But
yeah, and I'm 99% sure that we're not going live to the correct place right now. But at this point,
it'll post in the group.
I don't care. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I apologize to anyone. I'll reach out to you all individually after this. All right. So
It says that you're live from the messenger room in Mindset Mentors. That's what it's telling me.
can you join into that, or is that what you're?
Yeah, it's just,
Okay.
yeah, like the notification pops up. You just click on it, and that's where.
Yeah, and so
Okay.
again, I don't know how to screen share if I'm not in a room,
Yeah.
and so now I have to learn how to do
Well,
that.
so from here on out, it's like we'll go in the room, and again, apologies, but just kind of trial and error with the technology here. So
Yeah. So, all right.
we'll iterate.
Yeah, that was a dumb mistake. All right. So you guys should be stop sharing. Start sharing.
And do
Just the window. Just Cardone. All right.
Do you hate cold calls?
Can you?
No, it like went off. That's there it is.
All right.
Okay.
Look, most people hate them. We're going to cover here why people hate them. Why don't you like them? Why won't you like them in the future?
Is the
Number
sound on
one
yours?
reason people hate cold calls is because they believe the entrepreneur, the salesperson,
Sound.
the business owner, the employee wants to believe there's an easier way to create leads. They come up with all these ideas. Let's advertise. They don't even know who you are. You just started a company and you're going to start spending money on advertising rather than calling people that need a haircut or need a car or need your plumbing services or need your contracting, your insurance, or need to go to your network marketing company because they could actually make more money there. You know, look, there's not an easier way to create leads. There's no shortcuts to creating leads. At some point, you have to pick up a phone or knock on a door and call on someone. There's not an easier way. Sorry. You know the old saying, everybody wants to go to heaven. Nobody wants to die. Nobody wants to pay the ultimate price to go spend some time up there. Okay. Everybody wants to win the lottery ticket. Oh, nobody wants to buy that ticket. Look, to win that lottery ticket, you have to win the lottery, you have to buy that ticket, right? To make those extra sales, there's not an easier way than picking up that phone and calling someone or knocking on someone's door. Number two, look, you don't value your own time. You understand? You don't value your own time. So you're like, I'm going to drive across town to go see Mr. Johnson. I could have made 100 phone calls by the time you drive across town to see Mr. Johnson, who, by the way, is not even in today. We've all done that. Drive over there. I don't want to call him first because if I do, he's going to say, don't bother. And then you waste your time driving across town. And then you get home that night and your kid says, how'd you do today? And you're like, oh, it was a terrible day because Mr. Johnson wasn't in. And oh, woe is me, and the world is so difficult and I'm so unlucky. Look, man, pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. I can make hundreds, 200 calls in a day in the period of time it takes you to go see a client. And then everybody complains because they're like, I called them. I made a cold call and they were rude to me and hurt my feelings. Oh. Number three, your upbringing. Most of us were actually taught not to talk to strangers, not to impose on people, never to bother anyone. Oh, but go out and be successful. Look, how can you be successful if you won't talk to strangers, won't impose yourself on people, and you're not willing to bother someone? You want to be successful? You want to be the next Steve Jobs, the Warren Buffett, the Martha Stewarts? All three of those people, okay, have had to impose themselves into the marketplace. Oprah, you didn't think Oprah didn't have to impose herself, bother people, make a call to someone she didn't know? Absolutely she did. You want to be successful, you have to pay these prices. Number four, you don't make cold calls because you hate the idea of rejection. Man, I don't want anybody saying no to me. This is planet Earth. People will say no to you, even if you don't make the call. It is a ridiculous idea that you're not going to experience disappointment in your lifetime. Hopefully, you're going to experience big disappointments, not little teeny weeny ones. Without a full pipeline, you will always experience rejection. And if you don't continue to fill that pipeline up by making cold calls, you will continue to experience more and more rejection and more disappointment, because rejection is not an emotional experience. Rejection is an indication. We definitely want this as a question. Rejection is an indication that your pipeline is broken. Not that, oh, I'm hurt because they told me no. It's an indication when you have that experience that I don't have enough people in my pipeline. I'm too dependent on too small a number of people. Number five, you would rather spend money on advertising than actually go out and generate and drive your own traffic. This is a big problem that started in the 1960s when companies with TV, the advent of TV and radio, the explosion of TV and radio provided a lot of advertising, okay? Back in the 1900s, you had to go knock on door to door. There was no TV and no radio. There was no phone yet. You couldn't reach out and touch anyone at any time, right? So what we had to do at that time, you and I had to go out. We had to get on our horse and drive across villages. Jesus had to leave his own town to get his word out. See, today he would use TV. He would use the internet, broadcast everywhere, stream to the world. See, you want to believe there's an easier, softer way today, which is advertising. Advertising for most companies is just a ridiculous, stupid waste of money because you're not willing to do the hard thing, which is knock on the door, pick up the phone, and call someone. Number six, because someone convinced you somewhere that cold calling doesn't work. Some old salesperson you work with or manager, that doesn't work. You know, it's a numbers game. You got to call 15 people to get one person on the phone. That doesn't work. By the way, that advice that you're getting from that person show me their paycheck. I'd like to see their paycheck. I'd like to see their 1099. I'd like to see what they paid in taxes last year, last quarter. Some of these people have never paid taxes in their life because they don't produce any money, but they got all these ideas about what doesn't work. Look, you incorrectly access data to mean you should not make calls. By the way, you're incorrectly accessing and giving value to data from people that you should never, ever, ever receive data from.
All right, so flip on back.
Some good nuggets in there.
Yeah, it's give it a second to transfer back over. All right. Can you guys see
See both of us.
both of us here again? All right, so the preface for what we're going to talk about in a little bit more detail is every single objection that you create in your head is something that someone put there in some other capacity. My favorite one in there is, how are you going to be successful? Because your parents told you your entire life, don't talk to strangers. And don't do that. Don't like give out information. Don't be comfortable. It's like the phone is, it's an objection internally. Like you have your identity saying like, don't do it. And when you have that thought process before you make a call, it's going to end poorly. And so with that, the next things we're going to go through, it's the purpose of the call, the greeting, the big claim, qualify, fact find, and close. So it's about like 20 some minutes of video, 5 or so minutes at a time. And it really just breaks down, like, you don't have to say, hi, my name is Pete Hric and I work with Exp Realty. Today I'm calling because I want to sell you a house. It's like, shut the fuck up. Like, that's not what I want to hear when someone calls me. And I mean,
Yeah,
you do it too.
There's different, I mean, that's what we talked a little bit last week with Mike, is because he was asking about, for sale by owners and scripts and stuff like that. Finding a script that works for you, whether it's a FSBO you're calling or an expired listing, finding one that you resonate with, that you can kind of mirror and match on the phone to who you're calling and you're most comfortable with, that's important. But before we do move on to the next one, I just kind of wanted to say, one thing that he brought up was, and it's like a self-objection, you don't want to bother people. If you truly believe that you're calling to add value and your solution to, let's say, netting a for sale by owner more money, if you truly believe that you're able to do that and you're genuine on the phone, you're going to be way more confident. So you're going to stop thinking of it as, oh, I'm bothering people, but rather I'm helping people. Like, I'm providing a solution to people that may not otherwise know. And so if you can kind of shift that little bit in your head, I know that helped me in the beginning. And you don't feel like you're a bother because you're helping.
Right.
So.
And that's kind of the purpose of, the last pieces of what we're going to do today. We don't have enough time in an hour segment to go through and do a full hour-long role play. We do role play calls multiple times a week, and you can watch all the YouTube videos in the world. But within an hour, I think something that's valuable is just like the structure and the purpose of the call. So again, it's a 7-minute, 6-minute, 3-minute video. I'll play the 7-minute one, stop, come back real quick, and just kind of talk through. And if you have any comments or questions that you want answered afterwards, please put it in the chat box, but we can share this information with you. I just bought this from Grant Cardone. If you work with EXP, it's free within the EXP University. But what I'm going to do is share the screen here real quick. And we'll have
You're a technical wizard, Pete.
Thanks, man.
Just screen sharing and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it says we have 12 people in here, so that's, hopefully a valuable value add.
Purpose of the call. It's not to waste your time.
Hey, calling to waste between 5 to 7 minutes of your life. All right.
Purpose of the call. Don't be distracted. The purpose. I mean, don't kid yourself, folks. The primary purpose of a cold call is
Send it.
do you even know? What is the
How bad is
reason you
that
make
lag?
a call? What is the only reason
I can
you
see
would
it
make
on
a
my
call?
phone now.
To close the deal. Period. That is the only reason. So if you think there is another reason to make a call,
I mean, it's just not.
Guess what? You won't close deals. When I pick that phone up, I know this. I'm closing this deal. I don't care if you give me a lead and tell me we've called them 17,000 times. They are definitely not a buyer. They're not qualified to buy. They can't buy. Here's the 17,000 reasons they can't buy. By the way, we got them all written down right here for you to see, Grant. I still believe I'm going to make this call because I know the purpose of the call is one thing. My purpose is not to show the product, demonstrate the product, sell the product, talk about the product, be nice to people, follow people up, talk to people, provide customer service. My whole purpose of a cold call is to sell the product, close the deal. Now, we've already talked about the conversion rates on cold calls. So we know that a closed deal on the first call is a minute probable event. Let me tell you something. I don't care how low the probability is. It's 10,000 times lower if you never make the call. You understand what I'm saying? Now, here's a list of secondary purpose. Primary purpose is what? Close the deal. Second or secondary purposes of this call is to identify decision makers. Who are the decision makers? Who is the guy or gal, the person there that cracks a check? Or maybe they influence a decision, but don't write the check. I need to identify influencers. I need to identify the levels of influencers. Who are the key players and influencers? Who are the slight influencers? Who are the conservative? Who are the out-of-the-box guys? Who are the respected influencers? And whose influence matters nothing, right? Because I could have somebody with an opinion in an organization. Let's say I'm calling a group that's got 400 employees. I know there's going to be 4 or 5 people involved. I know for sure there's going to be maybe 4 or 5, maybe 7 influencers. 3 or 4 of those people mean nothing. Nothing. I don't care what they say. They say, I hate you and your product. It doesn't mean anything. In fact, it might help me. How many of you have seen an influencer at a time actually help you because they were against you? Because that might be an indicator to the decision maker, this is the right thing to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? So whether I'm buying a product, I'm trying to buy some real estate right now from a group. There's going to be a bunch of people that have their input, right? Or I'm selling a piece of real estate to that group. I could be making a cold call to buy it from them. I could be making a cold call to sell it to them. I need to know this. Are there other people that can influence it? And what level do they influence at if they're not decision makers? Okay. Another reason, a secondary reason, is to determine wants and needs. What do they want? What do they need? Why do they want that? Why do they need it? What have they done in the past that didn't work for them? These are where you're asking really ideal questions. This is where your road to the sale comes in. This is where you got to become a professional, really great at selling and understand what qualifying people is about. How do I create interest? That is another secondary purpose. How do I create interest? I talk about setting hooks and using magic questions. How do I get an appointment? How do I get an appointment that shows? How do I get an appointment that wants to see me now? Like literally, hey, Grant, let's don't do this next week. Let's do it right now. How do I do that? That's urgency. See, those are secondary. What's my primary purpose? Do you remember? What is the primary? Because that last one I gave you, create urgent appointments right now, that would seem like, oh my God, man, that's a primary purpose. No. Primary purpose. There is only one primary purpose. Close a deal now on the phone. Okay, not to get an appointment. That would be a secondary, right? Getting contact information for follow-up, text numbers. How can I get a text number? Nobody wants to give me their cell number. Nobody ever denies me a cell number. Why? Because I know how to give people stuff that is texted them through their cell. How do I move a contact from a cold to warm? How do I do that in a call? That's a secondary purpose. How do I expand my pipeline by getting referrals or replacements? See, cold calling is not just an activity to close. That's my primary purpose. A secondary purpose would be what? To prospect. I'm getting you guys sold right now. You're watching this, you're like, man, this cold calling thing's got some freaking meat on it. This thing has got some juice, baby. There's some titanium in this mine. See, you just came for the gold. I'm giving you the real juice here. Cold calling's got so many different levels that you can't ignore it. Just because some guy wrote a book that cold calling is this or that or dead or done or over, or you see some post on Facebook or LinkedIn, never cold call again, okay, doesn't mean that you shouldn't cold call. This is an activity that's got multiple layers, a lot of deep layers to sales. Cold calling is a prospecting activity before actually it is a sales activity. But my primary purpose is what? I want to make a close. I want to sell a product. I want to get my product in their hands, or get an appointment, or set a hook, or build value, or create interest, or replace my pipeline. See, that's what I'm doing. I'm not thinking about one thing or two things any more than I would be my 6 steps when handling an objection, right? I don't think about it 6 steps anymore. Look, I'll tell you the truth. I don't even think about a customer and a salesperson anymore. I think that I'm doing everything. When I'm in a sale, I understand sales so well. Okay, I got to get off my chair to do this. I get so excited. I'm like, I understand selling so well, I don't even think they're involved anymore. I think it's me and them. They're there, but like I'm literally moving them as a buyer. I know their objections. I know my pitch. I know what they're going to say before they say it. Right? You get it? So you need to know cold calling that well, right? Look, there's other goals in this call that can get you closer to a sale, but my primary purpose is to sell a product. I go in believing I'm going to sell a product. I also have these secondary purposes so that I'm never disappointed. Know the cold call. It's deep. It's big. You got to wrap your head around it. You got to stay sold on it, and you got to get rid of anybody in your organization, any manager, any owner, anybody that tells you cold calling is dead. I would love to compare my net worth to their net worth to prove to you it's not.
That's stern but fair, Uncle G.
Yeah, stern but fair.
Drives home a lot of points there.
So, I mean, just real quick, as I queue up the next video, can you go through just like, as far as the purpose of the call? Obviously, you're calling with the purpose of what? When you're in real estate specifically.
Of selling something. And that's the thing that's, like in cold calling too, I guess we don't have enough time to go through the different types, but I mean, it could be on the buyer side too. Like we have a database of thousands of people that were at one time interested in buying. So yeah, I mean, knowing what your purpose is obviously is going to be different for the type of call you're making, but you know, one thing that's important that he mentioned is like, who's the influencer, who's the decision maker. When you're, at least one thing I've experienced a lot, I'm sure a lot of you guys have, you know, you're trying to set an appointment and you kind of discover, hey, maybe this person's not the decision maker. Like, oh, I have to talk to my husband or I have to talk to my wife. There are some good objection handlers with that of, you know, well, I'm sure that your wife would, you know, trust your judgment. And I'm sure you guys are both, you know, motivated to sell and move to Florida or wherever. And then kind of getting past that and just saying, okay, well, so, hey, I'm going to be in your area, you know, Thursday at 5. What if I could just stop by? We'll set the time on the calendar. I can follow up with you tomorrow after you talk to your wife. How does that sound? You know, there's different ways to get past it. But some of those secondary objectives are pretty important to hit on. So yeah.
And I mean, that's good though. But so the first piece of it though is, okay, not every, but a lot of hesitation comes from, well, I don't know what to say. So what we're going to put up in the group afterwards is just the outline to make a call. But, you know, it's won or lost in like the first short amount of time. I don't know if it's like 6 seconds or 10 seconds. It doesn't necessarily matter. But if you don't communicate effectively, I will hang up on you, and everyone does it. Like I like to go through it with people where it's like, hi, I just saw that you closed a sale. So I work with ADT home insurance or security, and I want to make sure it's like, you get insurance or security. I was like, what do you sell?
Yeah.
It was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm driving my car, using my GPS, trying to call someone back, ordering food. What do you want?
Right.
For the love of Christ.
Well, and that's what's kind of interesting too, is like getting to the point, you know, obviously important. But depending on the type of call you're making, you want to get their guard down. And
right.
Maybe this is a topic for another day, but like with for sale by owners, you know, I'll get their guard down by just saying, hey, I just had a couple questions on the property, if that's okay with you. Not just saying you should list this on the MLS, and if you don't, you're dumb. I've had people tell me other agents actually call FSBOs and tell them they're stupid for not listing on the MLS.
Yeah, like, thanks, I appreciate
it's
you
like,
sharing.
hey, good luck getting that listing if you're going to insult your potential client. I don't see how that's going to work. But anyway, getting the guard down, that's important up front, but then quickly kind of get into, you know, the meat of the call.
In the meat of the call, in what he said from the beginning with Cardone, and I truly believe it, it's your intentions matter ultimately. If you're the person calling I've never specifically heard that before, but like you called it for sale by owner, like you're dumb if you don't list it on the MLS. Your intentions are terrible. You're not coming from, if you're saying that to someone, you are not calling to help them. I don't know what you're doing, but
To
like
help yourself
you're
and get a
you're,
commission.
you're trying to get money. You're trying to get instead of giving something where you truly know that you can actually help people sell their house for more money. And yeah, you'll get paid off of that. But if I sell it for $18,000 more and I get 6 of it, do you want that? So again, the greeting piece, let's go through that and then we'll keep on moving through the videos here.
We'll look back at this at the end and see how bad the lag is. Hopefully it's not too bad, but
Yeah,
we may need to
we'll figure that out.
adjust our platform again. Sorry guys, thanks for being patient.
The greeting on your cold call. Look, on a cold call, that first 20 seconds, probably the first 12 seconds, could be the first 6 seconds. Boom! Make break point, baby. This is the make break point. It's the first 5 or 6, and it's the last 5 or 6, okay? Best way to correct a bad first impression is to have a sick sales presentation and a great last impression. Now, people have told me for years, man, you can never make a great first impression, okay? Well, I know that's a nice saying, and everybody believes that. I've made many bad first impressions that I've fixed later. I'm not gonna, this is a make break. This greeting is a really, really integral and important part, but we can recover from it if you screw it up. Just need to practice more, role play more, so you don't blow it more, right? Most customers make their decision on whether or not they're gonna speak to you immediately. Truth is, most customers, most prospects, particularly in a cold call, have made a decision not to talk to you before you even called. It has nothing to do with your voice, your tonality, how you said it, what you said. They've just made a decision. I'm not talking to people I don't know. It's just a little weird talking to people I don't know. Their parents taught them when they were just little kids, don't talk to strangers, okay? That doesn't mean everybody believes that. In fact, there's people at home right now that would love to talk to you because they have nobody else to talk to. Ask yourself in that greeting, in your presentation, are you looking for the 86% that won't take the cold call or the 14% that can't wait for somebody to call? Are you energetic or lethargic? Are you confident or do you sound nervous? Do you sound like you're making a sales call or do you sound like you're living for something you love? Do you sound smooth or do you sound like you're I hate that, man. Quit reading, man. Quit reading. I can hear that you're a good person, but you're reading a script. These are the things that are ultimately going to determine your ability to convert a prospect, a cold person on the other end of the call, to a prospect that's interested in your product, to somebody that's got a hook in their stomach that's like, you got to show me more, to somebody that's giving you a credit card. Let's roll. You understand? It's you. You make the difference. In every way, you make the difference. Because even if they're not interested and hang up on you, you're going to be the one that makes the difference by making another call. Here are the 3 things you need to know to nail that first 15 or 20 seconds. Pitch got to be tight. You got to tighten this thing down to a commercial. If you were going to run an ad on CNBC, CNN, Fox, ABC, CBS, that thing needs to be tight. You're buying time. So the first thing I want you to do is this. I want you to record a 20-second commercial. Who are you? Why are you calling me? What are you going to do for me? What is your product? And what do you want me to do about it? Right? You need to get it down to a commercial elevator pitch. Literally a pitch you can deliver in 20 to 30 seconds. Under 20 seconds is perfect. While you're riding on an elevator, getting out of a cab, on a plane with a guy, plane's going down, and this is your last pitch. Practice until it's ingrained into every fiber of your body and you know exactly what that pitch is. My company increases the sales of your company by 15 to 20%. Are you the decision maker or would there be somebody else I would talk to? See, I have that ingrained. We buy real estate from companies. We close in the shortest period of time. We have cash in the bank. There are no other decision makers. I've never been on a deal that I didn't close, ever. There's not one person anywhere in the world that says I started a deal and didn't finish it. Are you the decision maker or would I talk to somebody else? Okay, boom, I got my pitch down. Number 2, deliver the greeting with freaking Zeus, baby, enthusiasm. You need to be Thor right now, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, Superman. You need to be spectacular. So when they hang up, they're like, dude, what's that guy on? Is he on something? I think that guy is on something. At least you're alive. compared to all the other people that have been calling. They're dead people, man. They're dead people. They're not on anything. You know what I'm talking about? I'm on a purpose. I know my game. I'm on a mission. I'm not on a drug. I'm on a mission. I'm not on caffeine. I'm not spanking that 5-hour stuff. I don't need it. I'm on a purpose. I'm on a mission. I love my product. I love my company. I love my service. I don't mind you telling me no. I know you're supposed to. So how do you expect to close anyone if you're not excited about your product? I mean, come on. It blows my mind. How many salespeople don't even buy their own product? You're overlooking something so simple as enthusiasm. I know what you're saying. Dude, really? Yeah, really. You got to be able to turn it on and turn it off, okay? If you need to turn it off, you need to be able to go from 0 to 100 as fast as you can. Certainly faster than a car, okay? You brag about your car. Your car goes 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. You need to go 0 to freaking 100 in a microsecond, all right? And you need to keep it there. You need to keep accelerating. You need to be positive when they're not. Number 3 thing you need to do is this. You need to know that you can't fail, right? You need to know that you can't fail, that it's impossible for you to fail in life, in sales, in business, and it's impossible to fail on a call. Even if a prospect cusses you out, hangs up on you, says never call back again, it's still impossible for you to fail. It's impossible for anything bad to happen to you. You can still win because you can cross a prospect maybe off your list. That's what Jared would say. Or I'd be like, let's call them back, man. Let's call the people back right now, man. Hey, you just hung up on me. Or maybe give them a day, right? Hey, yesterday I called you. You weren't interested. I'm calling you back today. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to keep calling you back till you change your mind. Did you know the most powerful thing a person can do? The most powerful single thing a human being can do is change your mind. I'm going to keep calling you back until you do. See the attitude? See the respect I'm showing them? See the commitment, the dedication? I don't need to be rude to anybody. I need to be a professional, okay? Do your math. Do your math. Remember that? Remember the segment on do your math? Do your math. Do your math if you want to be successful. Never quit. Go into this knowing you can win this deal, okay? All right? Let's go.
I feel like he covers so much, and it is a little all over the board. One thing that stood out to me that this I don't want to say I disagree with, but he's like have all the enthusiasm in the world. That is important to be upbeat, I would imagine, obviously. But if somebody answers the phone and is like, hello, and you're like, hey, like mirror and matching, if you're not going to, they're going to just hang up on you because they kind of know.
For sure.
That's a huge aspect, in my opinion, of the first 10 seconds is mirroring and matching. Like I'll come up or down. My baseline's pretty calm and mellow, but if someone's like, hello, I'll be like, hello.
Right. And that is one thing too, that I think helps overcome the reluctance where you know what you're going to do from the beginning. Because I mean, my favorite's DJ. So like part of the video he's talking through, he's like, call for sale by owners at 8 a.m. They're like, never call me back again. He's like, he sets it in the system. He's like, call him at 10 a.m. You know, and it's like, hello. He's like, hey, good morning. Just calling to ask a couple questions. Like, they don't remember.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing that I like too, you know, it is a less common one, but when people are like, you're the 7th person that's called me this morning, you know, and the objection to it's like, wow, really? It's like only 7 real estate agents are making phone calls in the entire West Penn multi-list this morning. That's ridiculous. Have any of them helped you yet? Like, just out of, you know,
And,
that question
like,
is
you
probably
might
the best,
you
but it's-
might build a rapport and catch a laugh.
They're like, what?
And even if
Yeah.
the person is like, shut up, or you know, or if the person's just like not, you know, in a good mood, then okay, yeah, call them again another time. You know, it's like you don't want them to bring you down and down out of like the good state that you're in.
Right.
And just looking at it as like maybe they are having a bad day. They don't even know who I am. They think that a lot of real estate agents are the exact same, and we're not. We all add different value in different ways. So just chalk it up to maybe they're having a bad day and move on to the next one.
Yeah, that's the key piece. So, you know, the key points though from the greeting, it's with enthusiasm in some capacity. You know that you are calling with a purpose to help them. It's, you know, sharp as a tack, enthusiastic as hell, expert in your field. You have to know your numbers, know your math. Because if they start asking you questions, you're like, you need to know what you're talking about, and I think that's where confidence comes from overall. So the next one here is just a 3-minute video. Let's get it started. Talking about the big claim.
Fire it up, Petey.
Firing it up.
Just Alexa.
Yeah, I mean, there's the 3-minute video. So give me 1 second. Cardone. All right.
Okay, so when making a cold call, or for that fact, making any kind of sales presentation, anywhere, in front of a person, over a phone, at their front door, anywhere, at any time, in the back of a car, in an elevator, when somebody's just showing slight interest, lots of interest, or no interest, look, you gotta drop claims, giant, big, monster hooks, so that if a sale does not take place, which will happen more often than not, you want that hook, that big claim buried into that client, that they can't shake it, they can't spit it out, that you were the best with that product line. You're the best financial investor. So this big claim, you got to get over any kind of, I don't want to over deliver. I want to under deliver. I want to under promise and over deliver. You know that whole thing? I don't want to over promise somebody something and not be able to deliver to them. No. In this case, you want to over promise, and you want to force that over promise to cause you to over deliver. Look, if you're watching this, you want to get better, right? You want to get better. That means you're a good person. That means you have a good product, and you're trying to enhance and improve your skills around getting that product into the hands of more people. You're not a criminal. You're not a bad person. So when I say over promise and over deliver, that's the hook I'm talking about. I know you're going to over deliver. The old idea of under promise and you can over deliver is actually being fraudulent. I need you to set a big, giant claim on your product. For instance, my product. We're going to get you a 50% increase in sales in the first 15 days. In fact, I could probably do it by lunch today. Okay, do you understand? At no cost to you, I can increase your sales by 50% by lunch today, and it's 11 a.m. right now. That means I can do it in an hour. Think that's an over promise, a big, too giant of a claim? I got to get their attention. If you don't tell your prospect what you can do, how good your product is, what you do for other clients, hey, you're treasonous to your company, to yourself, and to your product line. Keys to the big claim. You got to figure out what that big claim is for you. But the number one key is this: be honest. Be honest. Take a good, honest look at all the great stuff you do, the incredible successes that other people have had. Number two, don't bother talking about average results or competitive or comparative or similar. You want to be giant, monster, Donald Trump. Huge. We're huge. We're the best. Arnold Schwarzenegger, anytime he did a movie, this is the best, the blockbuster of the season, right? Big, giant claims. Who are you to determine if your client will get an average or just a good result? No. Your job is to put it out there that they're going to have a huge claim. Always assume your client will perform with your product or your service or your idea at the highest levels. The third thing is be confident that you can deliver on what you say. Okay? Conviction is the key to delivery. If I believe somebody's going to win with a book, the 10X Rule is the best book you will ever read in your lifetime. The fact that I believe that could actually cause the reader to actually make that happen, okay? Make your big claim, set your big giant hooks, look at your product or your service, and come up with 3 or 4 or 5 points that would cause somebody like, I got to pay attention to this guy.
Grant Cardone is a cartoon character.
Yeah, he is.
But he's also has $2 billion worth of assets under management. So
he has a strategy that works for him.
And it doesn't again, I feel like after each video, just prefacing we don't do everything that he says. And he's talking about cold calling as a very broad topic. It's specific to real estate. I think there's for sale by owners are different than expireds, are different than buyer leads, are different than your friends.
And follow up.
Just to clarify, follow up. It's not always
circle prospecting.
For sure. And I think the key points for that though, the big claim, people want to know how you're different and what you're going to do. And that is something to think through, where the last piece he was saying there is the confidence. You hesitate to call because you don't know what you're doing. And the reason you don't feel confident is because you don't think that you can actually deliver on what you're trying to say to these people on the phone. And if you feel that way, then you're the problem, get better at it, and then you'll feel confident to call them. And you won't hesitate, just like a doctor walking into a patient's room where they just like, yeah, I mean, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm wearing the white coat. Like, what do you mean? Like, stop asking me so many questions.
DJ said something good the other day too, where, you know, if it's like, oh, I used to cold call quite a bit and it's been a few weeks and I'm nervous, and he's like, the best way to do it is to just dive head first in, you know, just queue up the first call, count down from 5 and just call it. And before you know it, they're answering, you're in your flow of calling and you're back at it again. So one thing with the big claim that he talked about, I'm guilty of this sometimes, and I know a lot of other people on our role play call, which we do with DJ. Is it Wednesdays at 2? We can send out the link for anyone who's interested in that. But one thing that we're all guilty of is the big claim. So going into even a portion of your listing presentation on the phone, that's something where I'm guilty of it. But the sooner you can set the meeting and get in front of them, the better. And then obviously you're going to do the listing presentation. So what I always tend to say is, they're like, well, what makes you different from the other 12 agents that called me this morning? And it's kind of like, well, hey, that's a great question. And that's actually what I want to show you when we sit down and meet. Again, I'll be around tomorrow at 4 if I can just stop by and getting their guard down and just saying, hey, you know, this may not work out. What's DJ's line? One of 3 things will happen. You know, either you'll like me and we'll work together, I won't like you, or whatever the third one is.
Yeah, well, it's one of 3 things is going to happen. We're either going to shake hands and agree to work together. You're not going to like something that I say or have a reason that you don't want to work with me, or I'm going to not want to work with you. And that's more of an in-person thing, because then people are like, well, why wouldn't you want to work with me? And then I can go into talking through how basically the only reason I would not want to work with you is I can't sell your $100,000 house for $400,000. I'm not able to meet expectations that are unachievable. And so I won't invest the money and the time up front to list your house somewhere around $1,200 just to get the photos, advertising, marketing. And then you just go through the rest of the presentation where they're like, wow, they do have to put money behind their business to make it a business. It's like, yeah, we need to fucking do that. Otherwise it doesn't work. And so I can't agree to sell your house for that price. That's why. People are like, oh, you're the only one who said that. Usually people sign the listing agreement and just let everything suffer for 8 months until they beat the price down, and then their buyers or their sellers are all angry. Yeah. That's not running a business.
Yeah. So that's like price over the phone. That's one thing that, you know, typically want to avoid. But yeah, just getting the appointment. The big claim is important, but you know, don't dive into your listing presentation on the phone. Just get the appointment.
That's the key. There's the clip you can pull out for Instagram, Tim.
Ah, thanks. I'm honored.
This last one, it's 5 minutes. Qualifying and fact finding. It's kind of what we're talking about right now. So just for the sake of it being 10 minutes till, let's just keep it brief and keep it rolling here. And then the final video is 4 minutes, so it'll be perfect.
2 more videos or 1?
Say it again.
2 more videos or 1?
Just this one. And
The quality questions. Quality questions control this cycle. This is fact finding, qualifying. This is a mistake that so many people making cold calls. They get in there, they our product guys, and they don't know anything when the call's over. You got to get data. You got to get information. I need information back from this buyer, this prospect, so that when we follow up out of our follow-up series, I know what I can talk about. I know what's important. Why do people buy things? To solve a problem. If you never ask a question, you won't know what the problem is, and then you can't make the big claims, set the big hooks, shine, use the lures that they're going to respond to. You got to know what their problem is. So look, once you have somebody on the phone and they haven't hung up on you yet, you've made your greeting, it's time to immediately jump into qualifying to see if they even have a problem that you can fix. Fact finding will uncover what I call the DBM, or dominant buying motive. The reason why someone would buy something. Okay, this jacket. I didn't buy this jacket because I needed a jacket. I had other jackets. I had a bunch of other jackets in my closet. What was the dominant buying motive for me to pull the trigger at that second for this jacket? Why did I come to the studio and shoot this content now? Why now? See, that's a dominant buying motive, okay? What was behind that What dominated me to push me from Miami all the way to Vegas to shoot this content? It propelled me into action. What was that thing that caused me to do that? If you know what that thing is, that thing that will propel somebody into motion to make a decision to either spend money or invest money, I did both in both these examples, then you'll know how to get people to repeat that. Look, if you don't ask the right questions and then don't control to get answers, you will never control the sales cycle, much less a phone call. Now, a quick note about fact finding. You should have a list of the same questions you're asking people every time. That they should never be a yes or no question. It should be an open-ended question that grabs data, okay? Hey, let me ask you a question. For instance, why did you decide to take this call today? Right? I just made a cold call to someone. They're saying, yeah, tell me more about it. Let me ask you a question. Why did you accept the call? I'm interested. I want to know. I've closed people before. They're like, yeah, send me, let's do it, let's buy it. And then I would ask them, let me ask you a question. Why did you decide to do this today? Why did you decide to see me today? Okay. What's most important to you in this? The last time you bought something like this, what was most important to you? What did you like? What didn't you like? The goal here is to get the customer talking to you, right? If I could solve one problem for you, what would it be? Your questions must serve the purpose of allowing you to gather the data necessary that you can use to further build out a profile on this client to understand why they're going to buy from you, or if they're going to buy from you, or how do I get back in front of this person? Each of these quality questions that you create will get you the exact dominant buying motives. I'm not asking people questions just to ask them questions. I'm looking for the dominant, the impulse, that one thing that will propel somebody into action. I'm really looking for a problem. I'm looking for some unsolved problem. You can literally come just right out and ask them, hey, if I could solve one problem for you, what would it be? What is the biggest single challenge? If I could solve this one challenge with a freaking magic wand, what would that one thing be? What problem do you have right now with your product or your inventory or your machinery or your capacity or whatever the case is? If I could solve that one single problem, okay, what would it be? You'd be surprised how often the buyer will just, boom, this is it, man. Solve that problem, brother. You solve that problem, brother, sister, man, whoever. They don't even know my name. They forgot my name. It's a cold call. You understand? And I want to give you one more little tip here. Remember, the quality question is looking for what? That one thing that will propel them into action or into interest to do business with you. Here's a little secret trick. Only the masters. That's what Jared told me. He said, Jared said, only the masters know this. All right. Whenever a client reveals a problem that they're having, you must have them quantify the cost to them. Okay. And the way you would do that is this. Hey, man, I have this ultimate problem right here. Great. What's that costing you? Okay, what's the cost of that problem? What problem is that causing for you? Why do you want to solve that one problem? Why, man? Hell, man, my marriage is falling apart, or my kids are in treatment, or, whatever. I got inventory that's too old. Next time a prospect tells you they're having a problem with a product that's performing below standards, ask them this. How much do you think that costs you every year, every quarter, every month, every week? What's the ultimate cost of that? Quality questions. Do you have your list? Have you built your list of quality questions, okay? And do you know why you're building that list? Last thing, and we're out of here, is this. When you ask a question, always, 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 always get an answer. Always. Because the person that gets answers to a question controls a sales cycle. It's not the person asking questions.
That was good.
Yeah, I think that was the best one so far. So with that,
I guess two quick things.
Yeah.
Then we can close it out and whatever else. Pre-qualifying on the phone before you go on an appointment. In the beginning, cold calling, I'd set appointments and didn't do a good enough job pre-qualifying the appointments to get their timing and their motivation. Had I done that, I would have realized I should not have gone on that appointment. I would not have wasted my time. It sounds bad saying that, but it's honestly true. When that person didn't have any motivation and they were priced too high and they weren't going to come down, that's not worth going on that appointment for in that example. Timing and motivation. That's the big one for real estate.
And everything. Same thing with like the first time you met your wife, she was dating someone else. The timing and the motivation was wrong.
That's true.
I'm serious. Timing and motivation is everything in life. We're like, you're not ready yet for whatever reason. That's okay. Figuring out with the person where it's like, well, there's always the reason where it's like, well, the school year ends in, I don't know, when's the school year in? May, April. And so we're going to look then. It's like, oh, you don't want to uproot your family. That makes sense. It's a job transfer. It's a timing and a motivation. So the last thing
It's a good example.
is,
I told my wife in 2013 we'd be married by 2019.
yeah,
I didn't say that.
but he thought it.
But I thought
And that's a different webinar. All right.
it.
Last 4 minutes.
Okay, in this segment, I'm going to talk about how to close for a future presentation. Consider this. You just called
Whoopsies.
somebody
What did I
No, you're good.
do?
Just make it full screen.
All right.
Here we go.
cold. You did a great greeting. You dropped a monster claim. You collected some quick fact finding. There's interest. This guy's actually interested. You're like, oh my God, what am I going to do here? But you don't have enough time to move into a full presentation. You haven't gotten into the numbers yet, okay? Or maybe you did. Maybe you mentioned, like at our company, we always tell people up front what it costs so they can start thinking with it. And even with that, I've told them it's $26,000. I can increase your sales 15%. Are you the decision maker? Yes, I am. But I don't have time to talk about it right now, Grant. Can you call me back at a later date? What we're going to do now is we're going to figure out how to actually close on a real solid time to do a presentation at a future date. This is going to happen to you more often than not. Certainly it's going to happen to you more often than being hung up on. And certainly it's going to happen to you more often than somebody saying, yeah, here's a credit card, man. Let's buy something right now. You understand? So on this cold call, you've greeted, you dropped your hooks, you created interest, you've done an awesome job. You have the decision maker or the person of influence, and you found out that there might be two other people that need to be on this call. You did a great job. Now, what are you going to close on? You're going to close on one of two things now. You're not going to close on the money. You're going to close on a future presentation and solidify a real time, an appointment. Number two, you're going to solidify an appointment time, a real time where they will take you seriously. Now, you can always ask for a presentation right now, but in this case, in this example I've given you, the customer said, I can't do it right now. I need two other people involved. Good. So, but you still could ask for it. Let me ask you this. Is there any chance if it only took 12 minutes, you could grab those two people right now while I have you? Save you the time of doing it in the future. I could ask for it. Don't ask, you don't get. But note that a solid appointment is a big win for everybody. I would rather than jamming for an appointment right now, I'd rather have a good solid appointment for the future. I can't even believe I just said that. I'd rather have the appointment right now, trust me. I'd rather have it right this second rather than something in the future. That's just me. Now, when the prospect gives you the option for a presentation at a future time, like, yeah, Grant, call me next Tuesday. That is not an appointment. You understand? Let me think about it. It's not a close, okay? Let me talk to my guys about it. It's not a close. When you give the option for an appointment for a future presentation, ask them what you want, okay? How about later today? I'm always going for now. Is there any chance you could grab those two guys right now? Let's just knock it out, get it out of the way, okay? Or how about later today? Oh, no, I can't do it today. I'm full up today. He says, why don't you call me Tuesday? No, that's not what we're doing. I'm not calling him Tuesday. I want to set something up on Tuesday so I don't bother him again. We want to close a solid appointment. More often than not, I know, and you know, that you're catching an executive or decision maker or an influencer on a cold call that wasn't expecting it, that's not going to set for an appointment. We close it on an appointment. Remember this, you're doing these people a favor. Your product can solve their problem. Push for today, push for later today, or if you can't get that, okay, great. How about tomorrow? How about the next day? How about the third day, right? Tie this guy down. Once he says, yes, I can do that, or I need to check with them, I'll hold. Look, I have a product that can solve your problems, okay? That can solve your problems, I'm telling you. The reason I'm pushing for a real time when you'll give me real eyeballs and your full attention and their attention is because I know I can solve your problem. In fact, I'm texting you something right now that will validate that from 3 other sources. Because once you really believe me, look, even if half of what I'm saying is true, you need to do this sooner, not later. And he's like, okay, man, let's do it tomorrow at 11 o'clock. At that point, I'm going to ask this. Would there be any reason you couldn't do tomorrow at 11 a.m.? I'm tying this guy down. I'm putting the freaking hammer on him. I want an appointment that's solid, okay? Lock down and close that appointment for a future presentation. And the buyer, the prospect, will respect you when you call back tomorrow.
That's
simple process.
It's one of the hardest parts, in my opinion.
It is, and that's why someone said this to me a while ago too, where like you take it back to like, well, what happens when you set an appointment with your doctor and your dentist? I don't know how many texts I get from my dentist's office, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, are you coming? You have an appointment in a week, the day before, the day of, follow up afterwards. It's just like they do it. When you call the doctor's office, you know, you don't get the decision maker. You get the front desk receptionist, whoever is answering the phone. Like your cold call is going to be to a gatekeeper, whether it's that individual person's objections that are keeping the key to the gate or an actual other person, physical, different human being. And that's why just like the last piece, because it's 101, something that's helped me every time you go on an appointment, whenever there's someone, if it's two people, when you walk in, the Jake Kinder line, where it's like, hey, thanks for having me over this afternoon. Who's going to give me the grand tour? And then the decision maker will identify themselves by speaking up. And if it's, hey, honey, why don't you take them through? Then it's the wife. You know, it's just like, it's those details where like you have to play the game of figuring out where like who's going to make these calls, like why are the reasons you're moving, you know, work through that process with people. And it's the same every time.
Got to get the close to get there.
Yes. So
yeah, that's you're rarely going to get the close on the first time too, unless the person's nice and excited, I guess. So knowing the objections you're going to get to and get past, and then successfully close. Which for anyone who wants copies of scripts, reach out to us, some objection handlers, etc. Be happy to provide.
All right, team. Thank you for watching. If you watch us in the future, let us know what you like, what you didn't. Paul, I appreciate you saying genius to that. I stole it from Jay Kinder. I didn't steal it. He gave it to me. You know,
one last thing for the first Thursday of every month, we're going to be doing the format we were in on Zoom and in person.
Yeah.
And we're going to have Matt walk through a different topic each week.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to, again, moving forward. So we'll have the lunch and learns on Thursdays, but it's the first Thursday of every month. We're going to have a little bit longer, a little bit more in depth, less video, more live presentation. We're going to work on having Matt present and then push to, you know, maybe some quarterly events too with bigger people, not Grant Cardone because but he was in Vegas with us. I mean, that was, true. You know, it was fun. So, true. All right. Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.